Shalom. Welcome. Today we are continuing over here at Hebrew Literacy with Listen and Learn Judges. Today we are on Judges chapter 2, verse 15, 16, and 17. I just ask that the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would bless you in your learning, that you would expand your understanding and do well and feel all the great feelings that come from engaging in the holy tongue. All right, so let's get to it. Just a reminder, today we are focusing on auditory learning, so you don't have to look at the screen if you don't want to. If you prefer to look at a handheld Bible, or you just are driving or commuting, or you want to close your eyes, that's fine. The teaching style today, so I said tonight or this morning, whatever the case may be, is focused towards auditory learning. All right? So, Shoftim, that's Judges, chapter 2, verse 15. I will read the whole verse first. Bechol asher yatseu yad Adonai. Haytah bam leraah kaasher diber Adonai. V'kaasher nishba Adonai lahem. Vayetzar lahem meod. Okay? Bechol. Bechol. So, bait is in, with, against. Let's just go with in here and see if that works. Bechol. Chol. That's kaf lamed. Chol. That's everything. In everything, or in all. Asher. Aleph shin resh. Asher. So this can mean which, or who. Sometimes it can mean when. So I'm going to try when here. When. Yatseu. Yatseu. So the verb is yatsa, yod tzadi aleph. Yatsa is to go out. And oftentimes going out and coming in has a military context to it. So yatseu, that shurik, the u at the end, the vav with the dot in it, that means they. So yatsa is to go out. Yatseu, they went out. So bechol asher yatseu, in all, when, so probably any time, whenever, yatseu, they would go out. Yad Hashem. Yad. Yad. Yod Dalet. This is hand. And then it's a construct form. It's in the construct with the next word. Yod He, Waw He. That's the tetragrammaton, right? So Adonai. The Yad of Adonai. Because the last word is a name. Yod He, Waw He. We say the on the first word. So the Yad of Adonai. So, Bechol Asher Yatseu. Whenever they would go out, Yad Adonai, the hand of Adonai. Haytah, haytah. So hayat, it's actually the verb hayah. Hayah. Hayah meaning was. And the at the end, the hey changes to a tav, so we can put the feminine hey at the end. That means she. That's because the subject is hand, right? And there's emphasis on hand. It's a feminine because it's coming before the verb. We would have expected haytah yad Adonai, but instead it's yad Adonai haytah. The hand of the Lord was, haytah was, or haytah was, am, bam. So here the bait, we're not going to translate it as in, but contextually as against, am. That mem suffix means them. So Yad Adonai haytah bam. The hand of the Lord was against them. Not a good situation. Le, vomit, le. So that's 4, 2 or 4. And it's connected to the word ra'ah, ra'ah, reish, ayin, hey, which is evil or bad, like bad things happening. A lot of times people, they read the translation of the Bible, and ra'ah is usually translated evil in the older translations. And so they get into a bit of trouble not understanding that this word does not just mean evil. Ra and ra'ah, it can mean evil or it can mean bad, like something bad. So, for example, you could have a good person, he's tasked to destroy, let's say, some Canaanites, okay, back in the day. Or he breaks the well of his enemy, right? Well, that's considered ra'ah to the enemy. It's something that's bad for him. Doesn't mean it's evil like the celestial concept of good and evil. It's just bad for him. It's kind of like the Satan. The Satan is a servant of God who does what God commands him to do. Not Satan, which is kind of the name that over time was given, Satana in the Jewish Greek, to the Nachash, to the serpent, right? To Diabolos. That's different guy. But Ha-Satan, the office of the accuser, the Satan, the adversary rather, he loves Hashem. He does what he's told. He serves. And so when he does something, though, from a human perspective, what he does is evil because it's not good for us usually. Tempting us is not good. We don't want it, right? So he's, for all practical purposes, he's evil for us. So at least this is the Jewish understanding. So haytah bam leraah was against them for bad. His hand was against them for bad, not for evil in the modern understanding of the sense of the word. Ka'asher. Actually, let's stop with the kasher. Let's repeat this first half of the verse here and see how you guys are doing. Bechol, in everything. Asher, or every time. When? Yatseu, they would go out, meaning militarily. Like you could think of they would march out, maybe. They would go out, i.e., for battle. Yad Hashem, the hand of Hashem. Haytah, haytah was bam, against against them. Leraah, le for ra'ah, evil, or for bad. And the verse continues, Ka'asher, kaf, aleph, shin, resh. Whenever you see this kaf combined with asher, it almost always will translate into English as according to how. So according to how, diber Adonai. According to how Adonai had spoken, diber. If you don't know the verb diber, just think of it as doing a davar. Davar is a word, right? So you speak a word. Davar, diber, both from the same root. Ka'asher diber Hashem, according to how Hashem had spoken. Ve'cha'asher, this is a vav, and cha'asher, according to how nishba Adonai. Nishba Adonai. Now, the root of this is sheva, sheen, beit, ayin, and some scholars think that swearing an oath originally had to do with 7 of a thing, like 7 cattle or 7 whatever. It's a little bit mysterious, but in the Niphal, that means when we stick a noon in front of it, like we have here, nishba, it means to swear, like to swear an oath. So, and according to how, nishba, swore an oath, Adonai. So, and according to how Adonai swore, lahem, lahem, to them. One more time. Vecha asher, and according to how, nishba Adonai, lahem, and according to how Adonai swore to them. Vayetzar, vayetzar. Now this is a little bit difficult to recognize here. This is probably the verb tsarar, tsarar, tsari, resh, resh. When you have a verb Remember, almost all Hebrew verbs have three root letters. Even if you don't see the root letter, it's been dropped out. It did originally exist. Usually, there are a couple of biliterals, but mostly triliteral verbs. When you have two of the letters next to each other that are the same letter, that is called a geminite verb, like Gemini, the twins, right, from Latin. So a geminite verb. And with geminate verbs, very often one of the duplicate letters will drop out. When it does, we usually put a dagesh in the letter which has been duplicated, which has dropped out, right? Usually that is what will happen. Now, in the case of tzara, we cannot do this because it's a reish, and reish cannot be duplicated. Okay? So the yod in the front is actually telling us who is doing the tzara. Now, what does tzara mean? Tzara is where we get the word for difficulty or trouble. The verb has the basic meaning of to be cramped for space, to restrict or be restricted, hampered, to be constricted. It does have other meanings too, like to tie up, to bind, to wrap up, to envelop, right? Kind of like encircle. And we see this as the opposite of what David prays when he prays for Adonai to make wide his strides, right? To make wide the area around him. It's the opposite of basically being in prison, is having wide open space, having freedom. Sorry, it's one of my favorite movies used to be Braveheart. That's the movie that I used to break through in German with. So like I think I've shared with this you guys before, but basically I had watched Braveheart so many times that I pretty much knew everything they were saying in English, right? And so I went to Germany and I bought the DVD in German. So it was German audio and German subtitles. And then I watched it back home. And it was great. A great way to start breaking into that language because I already knew everything they're saying, right? So then it was just a matter of learning what it was in German. And I could see it with the German subtitles and I could hear it with the German audio, right? So both visual and auditory learning. It really, really, I highly recommend this. If you want to break into a modern spoken language, which is incidentally a lot easier than learning a classical language, you'll feel a bit better. um, unless maybe, okay, we'll stop. I highly recommend you do it this way. You get your one of your favorite movies, get the movie with audio in the other language, and don't do subtitles in your language. You'll end up just reading it, right? For the most part. Some people they can learn this way. It kind of depends. But do the subtitles in that language and do the audio in that language and just enjoy. It's fun and you'll be amazed. First of all, you'll learn like easily 100 or 200 words that are almost the same, like bread and English Brot of Deutsch, right? So you start to, and then you start to recognize certain patterns. Oh, an English D becomes a T oftentimes in German, right? Bread, Brot, right? You even have some vowel. You start to recognize patterns like that. So really, really highly recommend it. So anyway, hence the freedom. So tzara is like the opposite of freedom. It's to constrain. In fact, tzarot, troubles, it means like confined spaces. Like the idea is your army is in a little, you're walking down below, and then there's two cliffs on either side of you, and the enemy might be up above, right? They can just throw rocks down at you or something. Not good. Although the Septuagint, you see the little A, or if I'm sorry, you don't have to look. It says vayetzar, and there's a little A. This is because the Septuagint actually interprets this instead of the verb tzara as the verb tzur, which is totally possible, the hollow verb tzur. So the translators of the Jewish Greek, they thought this was the verb tzur. So this would mean he like besieged. He besieged. Totally possible. So vayetzar vayay he tzer. So either he tzarad or he tzurd. If he tzarad, then he constricted. He caused problems. Right? He made it difficulty. He hampered. Or if it's tzur, like the Septuagint translators understood it to be, then it would mean he besieged. Either one works fine. So you have a lot of these things very often where it seems the text might be slightly different, or they might have been looking at it, something different. And it usually doesn't change the theology so much. It's usually just kind of okay, that's interesting. So the asher nishba Adonai, and according to how Adonai swore lahem to them, lahem vayetzar vayetzar, and he, I'm going to go with tzarad, he restricted, he hampered, he caused trouble, lahem, for them, me'od, me'od, this is mem, aleph, dalet, me'od, me'od, very much, exceedingly so. Vayetzar lahem me'od, or vayetzar lahem me'od, and he tzer, he tzarad, he restricted, he caused trouble, lahem, for them, me'od, exceedingly so. Okay, let me just check my timer, see how we're doing. Okay, so let's read through verse 15 one more time, the whole verse, and you try to get it this time. Bechol asher yatseu, bechol asher, every time or whenever, literally in all, when yatse, went out, they went out, yad Hashem haytah bam, the hand of Hashem, haytah bam, was bam, against against them, leraah, for bad, ka'asher diber Adonai, ka'asher, according to how diber Adonai, Adonai had spoken, ve'cha'asher, ve'cha'asher, so ve'cha'asher, and according to how nishba Adonai, lahem, nishba Adonai, Adonai had sworn, la, to him, to them, vayetzar, from tzara, and he restricted, or he hampered, he literally, like he problemed, lahem, to them, unless it's from tzul, he besieged them, me'od, me'od, exceedingly. Verse 16, vayaqem, vayaqem Adonai, shofetim, vayaqem Adonai, shofetim. You're probably used to the modern Hebrew pronunciation. Even I want to say shoftim instead of shofetim. Okay, so what's vayaqem? The verb is kum. Kum Adonai. Or kumi, ami. Kum, it's kof. Shurik, that's a vav, mem, but it's a hollow verb, so the vav is gone, and we're only left with the first and the third root letters, the kof, some say kuf, and the mem, which means arise, like get up. The yod at the front, vayaqem, vayaqem, the yaw is he. So yaqem is he will arise. Pardon me, that's a Hiphil. So he will cause to arise. But then the vav is going to change it. Instead of he will cause to arise, vayaqem is and he caused to arise. He raised up. Who's the he? Yod he, waw he. So vayaqem, and here I don't know if you're looking, but there's a little a. We actually have quite a different thing in some of the other versions. Vayaqem Adonai. Then I'm going to say then for the vav. Then Adonai raised up, or so Adonai raised up, shofetim. A shofet is a judge, and in many contexts it can also mean ruler. So you can actually even translate a shofet as a ruler, right? So he raised up judges, shofet im. The im is the plural. Vayaqem Adonai shofetim. Then Hashem raised up. He caused to kum shofetim, judges. Vayoshiyum. Vayoshiyum. Try to listen to this. vayoshiyum. So the verbal root is yasha, which this is to save, right? To save. And I don't know if you could hear the long chirik. Yoshi, not Yoshe, Yoshi. That's telling us it's the Hiphil, the causative form. So the yod at the front, in this case, is actually he. So, pardon me, he, and then we have a u at the end, which tells us it's they. Yoshi, u. That's they will cause to save. So they rescue, they will save, but the vav is changing it. So va yoshi, u. And they saved mem. The mem at the end is them. It's kind of hard to do the oo and the vayoshiyum. And they saved mem. Them. They saved them. There are some manuscripts, by the way, that did not have the plural u on it. The shudik wasn't there. So instead it was vayoshiyum, and he saved them, meaning God is doing the saving. So just worth note there. We do have some differences in our ancient manuscripts. Miyad, miyad. So that's min plus yad. So, and it's in a construct form. So from, hand of, mi, the mi is from, yad, hand of, shoseyhem, shoseyhem. Shoseyhem, if you remember from last time, from the verb shasas, to plunder, shosey, plunderers of, hem. So miyad, shoseyhem, from the yad, from the hand of their plunderers. And the reason it's the hand is because the very last word is definite. Shoseyhem. Remember, there are three ways for a word to be definite in Hebrew. It can either be a name, right, like Hashem or Joshua or whatever. Then we know what person we're talking about or what being. There's a name already. Or it can have a suffix on it showing ownership. So it's not any old shoseyhem, any old plunderers. It's shoseyhem. It's their plunderers, right? So it's definite. Or it can have the definite article on it, ha, which means the. So ha shoseyhem would be the plunderers. If the last word in a construct chain is definite from any of those three ways, then we usually try to say the on the words earlier in the chain. So miyad is really kind of like mehayad, right? Because shoseyhem, the hem means their plunderers, so the thing is definite. So mi from the yad, the hand of shoseyhem, their plunderers. So one more time with verse 16. Vayaqem Adonai shofetim. Then, or so, Adonai raised up judges or rulers. Vayoshiyum, vayoshiyum, and they saved them, miyad shoseyhem, from the hand of their plunderers. Vayaqem Adonai shofetim, vayoshiyum miyad shoseyhem. Okay, verse 17. Darn it, I didn't unpause my timer. Oops. Do we have time for verse 17? Processing. All right. We're just going to do verses 15 and 16. But let's make sure you really got them. Let's do 15 and 16, reviewing one more time through. Bechol asher yatseu. Bechol asher yatseu. In all when they went out, or in everything when they went out, or even where. It could be where they went out, like all the places they went to battle. In every place where they went to battle. That's one way you could interpret this. Bechol, in all, asher, which, who, where, when. Yatsa, went out, they. Bechol asher yatseu, Yad Hashem haytah bam. Yad Hashem haytah bam. The hand of Adonai was against them. Haytah, again feminine from hayah. It's haytah means she was, because the hand is feminine. Yad Hashem haytah against against them. Leraah, le resh ayin hey, for bad. Ka'asher diber Adonai. Ka'asher, according to how? Diber Adonai. Adonai had spoken. Sometimes diber means promise, so it almost feels to me like that would be appropriate here, according to how Hashem had promised. He promised them, if you behave badly, this is going to happen to you. Ve cha'asher, and cha'asher, according to how? Nishba Adonai lahem. Nishba Adonai lahem. And you should be trying to translate before I say it, okay? This is good linguistic practice. Adonai had nishba, sworn oath. Lahem, lahem, to them. Vayetzar, lahem, me'od. Vayetz, or vayetzar, vayetzar. And he tzarard, he tzarar. He made difficult, he constricted. Lahem, to them, or for them. Me'od, very much so. Or we go with the Septuagint, in which case instead of tzarar, it's tzul. He encircled them, he besieged them. Vayetzar lahem would mean he besieged against them. Me'od. Verse 16. Vayaqem. Vayaqem. And he caused to kum. Who caused to kum? Adonai. Vayaqem. Adonai. And Adonai caused to kum. He caused to stand. He raised up. Or then Adonai raised up shofetim. Shofetim. That's a shofet, one of our words of the day. We have over 200 words of the day. You really should do these to beef up your vocabulary. Judges. And I just released a new one yesterday. Vayoshiyum. 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 And he caused to yasha. And he rescued. He saved. Pardon me, they saved. Although some manuscripts do say he. The they is because of the u at the end. They rescued mem, them. Vayoshiyum. And they rescued them. Miyad. Miyad. Shoseyhem. Miyad shoseyhem. From the hand of their plunderers. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 15 and 16. Hebrew only. Try to get it. We're going to go through two more times. One time at a kind of slow pace, and then the final time will be a normal pace. Judges chapter 2, verse 15 in the Hebrew. Bechol asher yatseu. In all where they went out, or in everything, in every way, in every place where they went out. Bechol asher yatseu. Yad Adonai. Haytah bam. Yad Adonai. Haytah bam. The hand of Adonai, or the hand of the Lord, was against them. Leraah. Leraah. For bad. Ka'asher diber Adonai. According to how Adonai had promised. According to how Adonai had spoken. Ve'cha'asher nishba Adonai lahem. Ve'cha'asher nishba Adonai lahem. And according to how Adonai had sworn to them. Vayetzar, from tzarar. Vayetzar lahem me'od. Me'od. Vayetzar lahem me'od. And he caused difficulty for them much. or he constricted the ways for them much, or he tzurud, he besieged them. Verse 16, vayaqem Adonai shofetim, vayaqem, vayaqem Adonai, caused to kum, shofetim. Then Adonai raised up shofetim, judges. Vayoshiyum, vayoshiyum, and they saved them, miyad, miyad, from the yad of shoseyhem, miyad shoseyhem, from the hand of their plunderers. Last time through, this time no English. Judges chapter 2, verse 15 and 16. Bechol asher yatseu yad Adonai haytah bam leraah kaasher diber Adonai וכאשר nishba Adonai lahem vayetzar lahem meod. Verse 16. Vayaqem Adonai shofetim vayoshiyum miyad shoseyhem. Last time, brisker pace. Bechol asher yatseu yad Adonai haytah bam leraah kaasher diber Adonai וכאשר nishba Adonai lahem vayetzar lahem meod vayaqem Adonai shofetim vayoshiyum miyad shoseyhem. All right, I hope this is working for you guys. Let me know in the comments, please, if you like the auditory lessons. We're probably going to make one of the other lessons each time every week also auditory, because we've been getting a lot of good feedback on this stuff. If you like what we're doing here and you want to be supportive, please consider joining my Patreon, becoming a patron. The address, if you look at the screen, is there on the screen. It's www.patreon.com/Hebrew literacy. You can sign up to be a monthly donor, and I really would appreciate it. That helps us do what we do here. And just wishing you a wonderful day and wonderful good feelings about learning the Holy Tongue. Shalom, shalom.